Welcome into a special post-game edition of Friar Territory. I'm Kyle Glaser alongside Heath Bell. The Padres defeated the Nationals this afternoon 1-0 in the series finale. They took the series and overall went 4-2 on this homestand against the Royals and the Nats. Heath, the Padres may not be winning pretty right now, but they're winning. Nick Pivetta shut it down today, 7 scoreless innings, no walks, 3 hits, 10 strikeouts. What do you make of the Padres right now, just in the sense that, again, a lot of their wins have not been pretty recently, but wins are wins.
Well, this is kind of a pretty win if you think about it. I mean, it's a one-run game, but Nick Pivetta basically reminded me of when the team was struggling and Jake Peavy came up and just said, "Hey, I'm going to take over and go about 8 or 9 innings." I mean, nowadays Nick went 7 innings, and that's almost like going a complete game. I feel like Nick kind of took it upon himself and said, "Look, I'm going to put the team on my back. Just give me a run, and we'll do the rest." And kind of give the bullpen a little bit of rest so you don't have to pitch, 4 or 5 guys in the bullpen. And the last couple of weeks, guy in the bullpen had been struggling a little bit. I just think it's a little overworked, a little tired, whatnot. But it was really nice to see them win this game and to win the series against the Nationals. It was looking a little dicey losing the first game, but they're pulling out of it. They're fine. It's one of those things. Don't panic yet. It's okay. It's okay. We're not, you don't have to do things pretty. You just have to get it done. And they did it today.
No question about it. I want to dial in on Nick Pivetta a little bit just because he's been such a huge addition for the Padres this year. We talked about before the season that career record-wise, he'd been a below average to average kind of pitcher who always had good peripherals but was prone to giving up the home run ball, give up a lot of hard contact in the air. He was playing in a situation in Boston where he had a terrible defense behind him, playing in hitter-friendly parks against the lineups, the AL East. And the Padres, in a lot of ways, made that bold bet that by moving him to the National League West, getting him in front of a better defense, working with Ruben Niebla, pitching in some more pitcher-friendly parks, we would see the results start to match the peripherals a little bit, and just in general, some of the performance start to match the stuff. And we are seeing that. He had a great start, ran into a few, rough outings here and there, but that's going to happen to every pitcher over the course of the season. He's been everything the Padres could have hoped for. Right now, after this start, he's 8-2 with a 3.36 ERA. He's shown the ability to go deep, give them these 7-inning starts. He's giving them length. He's giving them performance. He's missing bats. He's not walking batters. In some ways, I think you can argue that Nick Pivetta has been one of the 5 to 10 best offseason additions made by any team this season, just because of what he's given the Padres, especially in light of their injuries to Yu Darvish and Michael King.
Yeah, if you watch him today, his curveball is like going at this high. And then occasionally he'll throw the fastball that high so it won't drop. And that's why some guys are like, why is he swinging at that pitch? Because it looks like the curveball is going to drop down, but it doesn't. And it's just a fastball that blows right by him. And I will tell you this, I've pitched with really good defenses and I've pitched with horrible defense. So much easier pitching with a good defense because you're not taking the ball and going, okay, I can't let the team hit the ball. I just got, when you have a good defense, you can just go out there and just make your pitches. You're going to give up some hits. There's going to be some errors behind you, but they're going to pick you up. But when they're going to get some air, they're going to give up, you're going to get 3 or 4 errors behind you every outing. You're out there trying to strike everybody out. You're trying to throw the perfect pitch and you're trying to do too much. And that's when pitchers get into trouble. So I think Nick's doing really well. And I think down the road, he'll understand that, hey, I need a good defense and I'm going to pitch really well. If I have a team that's going to give me a lot of money, but it doesn't have a good defense, I'm not going to go there.
No question about it. And again, this was a really, really marquee matchup. Nick Pivetta versus Mackenzie Gore. Mackenzie Gore, of course, the former Padres first-round pick and prospect.
Did great, too.
Yeah, I mean, Mackenzie Gore came in leading the National League in strikeouts, 6 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts. And this was a pitcher's duel. You knew from the outset that it was probably going to be a low-scoring game. And give Nick Pivetta and also Jeremiah Estrada and Adrian Morjon a lot of credit. Again, you can speak to this, Heath, but pitching with a 1-0 lead, there's a little more intensity involved. There's a little more pressure involved just because one mistake is all it takes, and all of a sudden it's a tie ball game. Again, all of them stepped up, and especially I want to give credit to Morjon coming in, getting the save. Robert Suarez unavailable. He was serving the first of his 2-game suspension today after originally being suspended for 3 games for hitting Shohei Ohtani. On appeal was reduced to 2, but no Robert Suarez today. The Padres were down a man in their bullpen. They're playing with a 25-man roster instead of 26. And Pivetta going deep, Estrada shutting down the 8th, and Morejon coming in, getting the save in a 1-0 game. Just tip your cap to the pitching staff. They really carried the team today, really as they have all year.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what happens. Does Robert Suarez stay home? Does he watch the game? Does he chill out? Because I know you're not allowed. You can work out at the ballpark when the game starts. You got to be out of there.
Yeah.
But that'd be interesting. Just like hang out with them. That tomorrow is. What are you doing? Let's just chill. Or go to Disneyland. I don't know. Go to the water park. Go to SeaWorld or something, and watch the game on your phone. But it was really nice to see the pitching staff and Nick to kind of put the team on their back and go. When it's a 1-run game, everybody's a little bit more intense. But sometimes that's what you need to play playoff baseball and to get there is you need to be intense. So it's nice to win by 6-7 runs, and then it sucks to lose by 1 or 2. But if you can be intense the whole time. And trust me, it's hard to be intense when you're up by 6. So I like these 1-run, games, especially if the Padres are on the winning aspect of it. I don't like the hitters not hitting, but, it didn't really seem like they hit at all. I mean, Arraez got some hits, but, I think the rest of them maybe go up with, a bandana on your eyes or some clips, swinging with your eyes closed. It might work a little bit. I don't know. I'm not a hitting coach. Nice.
Yeah, no, and again, I do want to hit on that. First and foremost, again, it bears repeating just how impressive this pitching staff has been. Again, after today's outing, the Padres are top 10 in baseball in ERA. They're top 10 in baseball in strikeouts. They're top 10 in baseball in whip. They're top 10 in baseball in opponent's average. That's been without having Yu Darvish all season. That's been with Joe Musgrove out for the year after having Tommy John surgery. That's with Dylan Cease pitching with an ERA in the mid to high 4s for most of the season. Michael King going in the IL. I mean, so many things have gone wrong, particularly in the starting rotation. And for this staff to step up like it has, Nick Pivetta has been a huge part of that. We've talked about this bullpen. Randy Vasquez has done an admirable job just through 7 innings the other day. Guys like Ryan Bergert, Stephen Kolek stepping up. I really think in a lot of ways you have to just tip your cap to this pitching staff because the Padres, so many things have not gone right this year in terms of the starting pitching injuries and the offense, which we'll get to in a second. But they're 44-36. They've won 5 of 7. They're right now right in the thick of the playoff race. And it's the pitching staff that deserves the credit for that.
Well, I know we're about halfway through. And, if you jump to the other half, we would have 88 wins right now. Where I think the team still, we've been struggling a little bit, but I think they're going to do a little bit better the second half. And I think, instead of 44 wins, you'll be closer to 50 wins. But I think if they get 44 again, definitely you got playoff berth. But it's just, I think you just have to clean a few things up, possibly go find a left fielder, maybe a catcher that's, but it's really nice to see the pitching staff, early on, everybody was hitting, the pitching was doing really well, but everybody was talking about the hitting. And it's really nice. The pitchers are getting their credit, even though maybe, the baseball world's kind of talking about it, but not really. They're just talking about more of the Padres aren't hitting.
Yeah.
But it's nice that you guys are going out there and they're just pitching and, and honestly, pitching wins you championships. And I think we have the pitching staff to do that. We just need to get there.
No question about it. This is a playoff caliber pitching staff. The offense, on the other hand, needs some work. Again,
half of it's playoff caliber hitting, but not the second half is like, gosh, what's going to happen to the point?
All right, Heath, we talked about the good part of the Padres right now with this pitching staff. Again, lockdown effort by Nick Pivetta today. This was peak Nick Pivetta. Fastball, curveball, slider, showing that intensity, just mowing down offense. That's what he's capable of doing at his best. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk about the other half of the Padres and how that needs some work in the lineup. We're going to hear a quick word from our sponsors. We'll dive right into it.
Kratz, real talk. I do not carry cash around me, but what I do carry around on my phone is Cash App.
Easy peasy. Like I said before, anytime Scott can pay for the tab, that is good. And it's always right there. Fast, easy, always available.
Yeah. Oh, my credit card's not working, or I didn't bring cash with me. There's no more alligator arms. Do you have your phone? Most people have their phone. So use Cash App. It's secure and safe. There's no waiting around. It is a super, super easy sign-up process. You can sign up quicker than you can listen to Kratz and I talk about Cash App. For a limited time only for the FT fam, new Cash App users can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real, no catch. Just download Cash App and sign up. Use our exclusive referral code Territory in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App.
All right, welcome back to Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. I'm Kyle Glaser alongside Heath Bell, showing off the lumber. He's got a beautiful, beautiful bat there. What model's that? What do we got?
It's a Rawlings. It's Michael Young's back in the day.
Awesome.
I'll just grab it from the back.
Heath, it's relevant that you brought the bat up because right now the Padres need all the help they can get, although I don't know if a retired closer is necessarily going to bring them the offensive thump they need. But we've talked about this offense so much and how it's just not performing. They need to change some things up. And we saw them make some changes today. Luis Arraez moved into the leadoff spot for just the second time this season. Friar Territory Jr. moved into the cleanup spot. We saw Manny Machado move up to the 2-hole. And in some respects, it worked out. Luis Arraez went 3 for 4. But again, the rest of the offense didn't do anything. It was a 1-0 game. Elias Diaz had 2 hits out of the 9 spot. The Padres are trying all sorts of things. We saw Jake Cronenworth move from the 7 spot to the 5 spot, and he's been hitting well recently. We saw Jackson Merrill move up to the 2 spot. We've seen now Manny Machado move up to the 2. Friar Territory Jr. moved down to cleanup spot. Luis Arraez went to the cleanup spot, now with the leadoff spot. The Padres are juggling the order a lot over this last week, and the result's just the same every single time. What's your kind of read on what they're doing offensively right now? Because again, I want to be clear. They've won 5 of 7. But it's been a lot of very, very questionable performances by the offense where, again, they're kind of having to crawl back against some teams who just aren't very good and just pulling out some victories by by not a whole lot.
Well, I mean, it's, hitters go in the slumps, and it's just unfortunate. It seems like the majority of the team is doing it at the same time. At least they're doing it together. But, I liked, here's the thing. We don't really have a bona fide cleanup guy. And I liked when Arraez was hitting number 4 because you had Tatis leading off. You had Jackson Merrill in the 2 spot, Manny in the 3. If those guys don't get on, then you got Arraez that might get on and create some havoc for the other guys down there. And Cronenworth and Bogarts has been doing really well of lately. Those 2 guys at the bottom of the lineup. So it's just kind of like I like that situation, but But then you kind of look at like Arraez, typically I would say he's a leadoff guy, but then he doesn't really steal bases. But if Tatis isn't getting on, he ain't stealing either. So the thing is, I like how Mike is trying to mix up the lineup, and I don't feel like he's mixing up the lineup because of who they're facing. The cybermetric numbers. He's like, hey, let's try to figure this out. Let's put the guy gets on base all the time. Hey, we don't really have a cleanup guy. Let's put him at the 4 spot because, if somebody gets on, then Arraez gets up in the 4 spot. He's not going to hit a double or home run, but he's going to put the ball in play, and he's got a good chance of getting the ball, getting a base hit, getting on base, and getting somebody in. So I like the theory of that. It's just nothing's working at the short term, but I think it will learn or work long term. Arraez in the 4 spot or Arraez leading off, and I think that's a good key because here's the thing. Any game you're playing softball, you're playing baseball, you're playing Little League. If your first guy gets on base, all of a sudden the team just goes, all right, we're going to hit today. The first guy strikes out, it's kind of like, okay, it's kind of like we're going to start somewhere. We got to start somewhere. But if the first guy gets on, and all of a sudden it just seems like, okay, we're going to score today. We're going to get a lot of hits today. And that's probably what they were thinking today. But, one guy got a lot of hits and we got 1 run, but we won. So there you go.
We've talked about this a little bit. You and I mentioned a few weeks ago on the show that this is honestly a move that makes a lot of sense. Moving Arraez into the leadoff spot. I would have Tatis in the 2-hole, Merrill in the 3, Machado batting cleanup. Again, just getting Tatis and Machado in particular some more run scoring, some more opportunities to drive in some runs. I like Gavin Sheets in the 5-hole. Once you get beneath that, it's a little tricky. I mean, Xander Bogaerts was getting hot. He's kind of slowed down again. Jake Cronenworth's been hitting well recently, and he's a nice number 7 hitter. But at the end of the day, they need more production from their core guys, need more production from the bottom of their lineup. Right now, the Padres are 18th in the majors in runs scored. They're 22nd in OPS. And that's even with their hot start to the season. It's been really, really exacerbated here the last 6 weeks now. They're bottom 5 in pretty much every offensive category. I do think that making these lineup changes is overdue. Again, you and I talked about this 2-3 weeks ago. That Arraez batting leadoff, then I would go again, Tatis 2, Merrill 3, Machado 4. So I do think this is the right way to go about it. And again, Sheets in the 5 spot as well. That should be your top 5 hitters in that order. Again, it didn't necessarily pay huge dividends today, although Arraez going 3 for 4 in the leadoff spot, that's really, really big. And look, he's on a 12-game hitting streak. He's back doing Luis Arraez things, just lining singles to all fields, finding ways to get on base, coming through with some big hits and big spots too. I really do think this is the best spot for him and what the Padres should do moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, if I was the manager, Arraez would be my leadoff guy. I know Tatis, it's always fun to hit those home runs to start off a game and all that.
Yeah.
But this team, even though Arraez doesn't steal a lot, I would definitely put Arraez at first. Even maybe Jackson Merrill 2, and then Tatis, 3, and then Machado. But it's just it's one of those things that I think they're trying to figure it out, and I like what he's doing right now. I like what the team is doing. They're trying new things, and it's not all by the numbers, and they're just going back to old school baseball. All I got to say is, guys, let's put the ball in play. Forget about the home runs. You guys are strong enough where home runs will show up. I mean, Jackson Merrill just the other day hit a ball to right field. They got robbed.
Yep.
So, there could be a little bit more power numbers, but it'll happen. It'll come. It'll come. So don't worry about it.
Yeah, and I think again too, right? Give the Padres credit. They're not just stubbornly insisting, "Oh, it'll get better, it'll get better, it'll get better." It's been 6 weeks of this, and they're making some changes. And again, they're overdue, but better late than never. And Heath, that kind of leads me to my next point. Once again, the Padres have won 5 of 7. They're right in the thick of the NL wildcard race. They're taking care of business against the teams they should take care of business against. They went 4-2 on this homestand against the Royals and Nationals, won both series. They had lost their previous 3 series, so it was a good step forward. At the same time, a lot of their wins were rather uninspiring. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Where do you stand on, kind of the dichotomy, if you will, of they're winning, but man, it's looking way too difficult against some teams who aren't very good versus, hey, wins are wins. You take them where you can get them, and they all count the same. Where are you on that spectrum?
Wins are wins, and you got it's about just winning the series. And it's not flashy. It's the dog days of summer, really. I think most people think it's July, August, but really it's June and July, a little bit of August, because the end of August you kind of get ramped up. Okay, come on, we got one more month, we got a couple more weeks, we have a chance for the playoffs. This is kind of the start of the dog days. And, we ran into the Dodgers that kind of whipped up on us, in a 10-day period. So it's not fun. It's, winning. I'm telling you, every fan wants to win by 6-7 games. I just want to win. Just win the series. And, every win counts, because think about it. Sometimes, if you guys don't understand this, but if you've been part of a baseball team, come the end of the season, there was always one game a month that you're kind of like, we were kind of in it, but let me try the pitcher that hasn't been pitching well, or let me try these guys. I'm not going to pitch hit this guy just because it's like, it's just one loss. It's not a big deal. Well, 5 extra wins at the end of the season is kind of like a big deal. So, I mean, everybody looks at September and goes, let's win every game, but what about the other 5 months? But I think it's not flashy, but you know what? It's kind of like, I'm going to say it, it's kind of weird. It's kind of like, you had your girlfriend, you got married, everything's great. 10 years later, you look at her and she's in sweats, and you're the only one that's like, all right. Where everybody else is like, she should be wearing like a mini skirt or this and that. And you're like, it's all right. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like, where, that's kind of how it is. I mean, but it's still the one you like. You still like the Padres. You're still doing a good job. It's just a little different.
Relationship metaphors aside, I think your point that it's kind of getting to be that point in the year where a lot of teams are starting to slow down a little bit holds true. And I think this is where it's really important to zoom out, kind of have that national perspective. The Mets had the best record in baseball for most of the season. They've dropped 10 of 11. The Yankees looked like they were rampaging through the American League. They've lost 9 of 12. This is the point where you start to see some of the guys who were on really, really good hot streaks earlier, some of the units that were on big hot streaks really start to slow down a little bit. Fatigue sets in, injuries set in. And look, over the course of the 162-game season, Every single team is going to have really good stretches and really bad stretches. And so from the Padres' perspective, you're coming off a stretch where you had lost 11 of 16. You lost 3 straight series. Would you rather be winning ugly, or would you rather be like the Mets and Yankees right now and losing? At the end of the day, you take winning ugly. And I just go back to, again, this isn't college basketball where there's quad one wins. This isn't college football where strength of schedule matters. Every win counts the same. And we've seen so many times year after year after year, this Padres team in particular have series where they just completely fell flat, lost to teams they shouldn't have at home. So the fact that they are finding ways to win, that they are grinding out wins, that, hey, it's not pretty, things are not clicking on a particular day, but they're still finding ways to win. That's a positive. That's a good character trait. That's a good resilience, sign that they're showing, and they've shown all year. So again, I understand it's not the most thrilling victories. You think they should be doing more against teams like the Royals and Nationals at home, but you look up, you win the series. That's what matters. And the ability to grind out those wins, that counts for something.
Exactly. I mean, this is, like I said, it's a dog days. It's just one of those things. And we're taught in the minor leagues, just win the series.
Yeah.
Don't sweep a team. Yeah, it's always great to sweep a team, but let's just win the series. Win the series, and at the end of the year, you're going to be in the spot you want to be.
Absolutely. All right, Heath, we've got a few more things to talk about. Looking ahead to the Padres' upcoming road series against the Reds and what they can expect there, and also take stock of where they are at the 80-game mark of the season. We're going to take another quick break, hear a word from our sponsors. We'll dive right in.
Well, if you're a normal human, you can't speak English to your pup. But what you can do to understand what they love, which is Spot and Tango Unkibble, is to see how they react when you put the Unkibble in the bowl. And my pup, Penelope, loves it. So does Bella.
Well, Bella speaks Spanish, so she says, muy bien. I love this stuff.
She says, wow, Dad, thanks for creating a custom plan based on my age, weight, breed, and activity level. You nailed it. And also, it's made with 100% whole fresh ingredients like real USDA meats, fruits, and veggies, but it's 40% less expensive than frozen food. So upgrade your pet's bowl with Spot and Tango Unkibble. And for a limited time, go to spotandtango.com/foul and use code FOUL for 50% off your first order. That's spotandtango.com/foul, code FOUL to get 50% off your first order.
All right, welcome back to Friar Territory. Kyle Glaser alongside Heath Bell with a special postgame edition following the Padres' 1-0 win over the Washington Nationals. Heath, Padres again, I wouldn't say they're rolling, but they're winning games, they're winning series. Now they head on the road, 3 games at the Cincinnati Reds, 3 games at the Philadelphia Phillies, facing 2 teams with very good offenses in 2 of the most hitter-friendly parks in baseball. I want to start with Cincinnati. You've pitched there. You know what the conditions are like. What are some of the things you're going to be watching for from the Padres as they head on to the road at Cincy and at Philly?
So the biggest thing, and I say it all the time, it's probably like beating a dead horse, is not walking people, keeping the ball down. Because here's
the fundamentals. They make a difference.
And here's the thing. It's always fun to do all these great, exciting things, but really it goes back to old school, just fundamentals. Catch the ball, hit the ball, throw the ball. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But, we all forget to do it because we're doing bat flips and all this other stuff and got chains popping out and earrings and all that. But yeah, I always enjoyed playing in Philly and Cincinnati just because it was almost like an intense thing. You had to be on your A game as a pitcher because any ball is going to leave the yard. I mean, just you could jam shot somebody that's, lifted weights that morning, but the ball is going to leave the yard. So it was more of a challenge for me. And I feel like the Padres are going to be up for that because a couple years ago in Philly, the whole playoffs, this and that, Cincinnati's kind of running hot a little bit. Yeah. So I think it's a good test for them. Their pitching staff's not the greatest. But, it'd be good for our hitters. It's hitter friendly. So maybe some of those balls, Jackson, will get out. Don't swing too hard. Just swing normal and the ball will leave the yard. But, it's a hit and miss for our pitchers. They have to be a little bit more key where our offense just needs to make contact and the ball is going to go somewhere. So it could get our offense back going again. So it's just, the pitchers have to kind of narrow it down and, like I said, I'm going to be looking, don't walk in people, don't get free bases because that's when you get hurt, a bloop single and then a big double or a home run with, 1 or 2 walks. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, geez, I could give up a solo home run, and that's fine. That's not a big deal. But when you give up a 2-run or a 3-run, it's kind of a big deal.
No question, especially against these offenses that are very, very dangerous. The Reds have a lot of very, very talented young players, led, of course, by Ellie De La Cruz. And the Phillies have so many weapons that can hurt you game in and game out. Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Nick Castellanos, Bryce Harper's been out injured, but nonetheless, these are two very dangerous offenses. And we've talked about it. This pitching staff has been nails, especially recently. Today, the 1-0 shutout against the Nationals. And even, the previous game, right? The Padres are down 3-0, similar formula. The bullpen holds the line, gives the offense time to come back. They take advantage of a defensive mistake. Boom, 4-3 win. So they're going to need the pitching staff to remain on point. Heath, we're at the 80-game mark, so not quite halfway, but we're close. And in our next show, you and I will do a full breakdown of Padres' first half grade. So I don't want to give away too much. But just right now, what is your 30,000-foot view of this Padres team? What do you think they are?
They're a playoff contending team, but winning in the playoffs, they're just going to have to clean a few things up, because they're missing some bats at the end. But they're in a better spot than I thought they would be at this mark. I really didn't think they would be at where they are. I thought they'd be a little above 500, but right at 500 right now. So I feel like, the first month of the season definitely really helped, but I just feel like they're in a good spot. And like you said, it's not exciting wins, it's not sexy wins, but they're winning. So I guarantee everybody's still thinking of the Dodgers, even though they won the last 5 of their 7 games. So I give them a thumbs up right now. Or 2 thumbs up right now, just because they're doing well. It just doesn't look like they're doing well.
Yeah. I mean, I had this conversation with someone this morning. In some ways the Padres are what we thought they were, in that they were an 85 to 87, 88 win team. Right now they're on pace for 88, 89 wins. And they're not terrible. They're not great. They're kind of good-ish, which again is really exactly what they are. So I think that there's a lot of frustration. I shouldn't say I think. I know there's a lot of frustration amongst the fan base right now. And I think a big part of it is they got off to this red hot start, 15-4, and even beyond that, 27-15. People keep talking about 14-3, 15-4, but 27-15 is actually when they were the most games above 500 this year. And it's been rough since then. And I understand that hot start, elevated expectations, they've come back to earth. But this is kind of what we talked about before the season, and why you have to remember it's the long game, that when they're healthy and they're rolling, it's a really good team. But over the course of 162, you're going to be hit by injuries. You're going to be hit by slumps. And this is a team that doesn't have the depth to really withstand that. So we've seen the ups and downs a little bit. And where it evens out is kind of exactly where we thought they'd be. A team that will be on the fringes of playoff contention, in the mid to high 80s win total. And they'll have some games when guys are clicking, they look great. And some games when guys are slumping, it looks like they can't do anything. So I think, again, they are who we thought they were, to quote the late, great Dennis Green. And I just go back to, again, they're not great. They're not terrible. They're goodish. And I think that's kind of just who they are and what I expect the rest of the season, barring significant changes at the trade deadline, which we all know AJ Preller loves to make happen.
So, yeah, you're basically saying they're a good second, third place team, as in we're in third, close to second place. They're not a first place team just yet.
Correct.
So, yeah, and I agree with that. It's just one of those things. They probably need 2 more bats to be a, first place team. So, but, they're doing a little bit better than I expected, I would say. So,
and one thing to keep in mind, once again, beating a dead horse, it's a long season, got to be patient. Keep in mind, last year, the Padres were a 500 team a day after the All-Star break last year. And they went on a fantastic run the rest of the year and finished the year as one of the best teams in baseball. And, of course, took the Dodgers to 5 games, the NLDS. And we've talked about it. Dave Roberts has talked about it, that, yeah, the Padres and Dodgers last year were the 2 best teams remaining in the postseason. And whoever won that series was probably going to win the World Series. And, again, it's not like the Padres dominated start to finish last year either. Again, they were a 500 team a day after the All-Star break, so more or less the equivalent of almost a month from now. So in some ways, they're ahead of where they were last year. They just haven't looked as good at times. But again, wins are wins, and I do think there's something to be said for the ability to grind out ugly wins and figure out ways to win when things just aren't clicking. That is a skill that shows a lot of resilience, mental toughness, and we've seen that from this team throughout this year. And that pays dividends down the stretch and in the postseason, which, of course, you can speak to.
Yeah, I mean, it's a marathon season. You run out of the gates and you're running super fast, then you kind of slow back down because you're a little tired, and then you're just, guys are kind of catching up to you, but you're just kind of, hey, I'm going to save some energy until after the All-Star break, and then, hopefully they do really well like they did last year. I mean, that's what I'm expecting.
Absolutely. We'll see if they're able to do that. Heath, it's been another great show with you today. Any final thoughts?
No, just hey, it ain't sexy, it ain't beautiful, but they're doing the job. That's all I gotta say. Just remember that wife that you've had for a long time, or that that used to be your girlfriend, used to look really hot. She can still look hot once in a while, but you also look good in sweats. So
there you go. So just to make sure I understand the metaphor, the Padres right now
are wearing sweats.
Are the mid-30s wife wearing sweats who's still attractive, but maybe not in her prime form.
Yeah, definitely. Well, 30s is kind of the new 20s, so she could be in her prime, but she's not. She's got more to deal with, like some kids and stuff, something like that. I don't know. Women are probably going to get mad at me for all this saying stuff, but whatever. I'm always in trouble. Who cares?
You are authentically you, and that's the best Heath, and the Heath we all love and remember from your playing days, and continue to love here in your post-playing days. Heath, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for your expertise and insight, as always.
Well, let's go.
All right, everyone, that'll do it for this edition of Friar Territory. Go ahead and give us a review, like on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, whatever platform you're watching and listening on. We'd love
Go
to
ahead
hear
and yell
from
at
you.
me if you want.
Please subscribe. It helps us out big time. We've got a lot more great stuff. I'll be back with Heath on Friday to do a full breakdown of the Padres' first half grades. We're going to grade every unit on the team, and we'll have Jake Cronenworth join us as a very, very special guest for a special interview. Again, lots of great stuff to come. We're not even halfway through the season. We've got a lot more exciting stuff to come, and Heath and I will be here to chronicle all of it, as will Mike Cameron. Once again, this has been another edition of Friar Territory. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll see you on Friday.
See ya.